People versus Jeffrey Sanders.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Retained Assistant Prosecuting Attorney. I'm behalf of people.
And Laura Yagi, Assistant Public Defender, on behalf of Mr. Sanders.
All right. And he's
So, Your Honor,
go ahead.
was the date and time set for preliminary examination. Before we even got to that point, there was some conversation I had with defense counsel regarding proceeding with this case, and also information I received that there is a CPS investigation. That investigation is based on the reports that defendant has been living with, or at least at the very least staying with the victim in violation of his PPO as well as violation of his bond conditions. I informed counsel of that. I know we had a chambers conference regarding that matter. It was the people's position that we were going to ask for remand to keep him in custody until we could have a bond violation hearing and to adjourn the exam to follow. The victim was not present here this morning, although there was some back and forth about whether or not she was on her way. The victim had expressed great fears about showing up here today and what the defendant would do if he knew that she was going to testify. After our chambers conference, Your Honor, I came out.
This courtroom isn't ready for what's about to unfold. Today, we're diving into the shocking case of People versus Jeffrey Sanders, a man accused of violating bond, breaking no-contact orders, and ultimately fleeing the courthouse mid-hearing. The prosecution is furious, the defense is scrambling, and the judge, she's had enough. What started as a simple hearing turns into chaos, a full-on manhunt right from inside the courtroom. Stick around, because this one spirals faster than anyone expects.
To call the victim, there was some conversation about having the victim appear via Zoom. So Deputy Raymond Hall and I called the victim to have a conversation with her about the possibility of her doing that. During that conversation, towards the end of the conversation, she caught our attention as we were hanging up the phone and said the defendant had been texting her throughout this whole day, essentially, throughout this whole procedure, and that she wanted someone to go look for him because he had texted her that he was going to run. I then left the conference room right away. I informed Public Defender Yagi about what we had learned and was looking for the defendant. My understanding at that point from Ms. Yagi was that the defendant was going to go use the restroom. I came out in the hallway. That is what he claimed he was doing. I had Deputy Raymond Hall follow him based on what we had just learned.
Right from the start, prosecutors drop a bombshell. Sanders has allegedly been living with the victim, a direct violation of his bond and probation orders. Even worse, there's a Child Protective Services investigation already underway. That means the system suspects not only legal misconduct, but potential danger to minors. And yet, while all this unfolds, Sanders is sitting quietly in court, plotting something that's about to shock everyone. Pay attention to what happens next.
Next thing I know, I was back in the courtroom. I heard police stop, and when I went out in the hallway, the defendant was no longer there, and it was my understanding that he had taken off.
In my understanding with reports from security that he took off, it would be the southern emergency entrance out of this building headed in a southerly direction. Ms. Yagi, anything?
Your Honor, I don't think there is anything I need to add at this point.
Based upon that, and this is date and time set for preliminary examination, I'm going to issue a bench warrant for the defendant's failure to appear. There will be no bond. That warrant will issue immediately. I have also marked the file.
And there it is, total chaos. The defendant has fled the courthouse. You can actually hear the disbelief in the prosecutor's voice as she realizes Sanders is gone. Running out of a courtroom isn't just panic. It's a serious criminal act called escape from custody. Judges hate this move because it undermines the very authority of the court. At this point, Sanders has gone from bond violation to fugitive status, and the bench warrant comes down fast. I am here.
That this matter, initially anyway, it might ultimately be set before Judge Washington, but should be set before me when we get him, and we will.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that was gonna be a bad one. Ready? No. Not letting that go. Court does, can we get Mr. Burke out?
I think he should be in custody.
No, I already on the record. Yes, I know.
They found him, Your Honor, so I don't know. if
Pardon?
the court wanted to, I'm sorry, on Mr. Sanders, they found him, but they have him.
They have him?
They have him. Excellent police work. I don't know if the court.
Best in the state.
That didn't take long. Police find Sanders around the corner and he's brought right back in. Imagine that moment. You run from court, thinking you can slip away, only to be dragged back before the same judge you just defied. If you thought leniency was possible before, forget it. From this point on, the judge's patience is gone, and what follows is one of the most scathing courtroom takedowns you'll hear all year.
Do anything today?
Oh, yes. If you guys have time, let's bring him to me.
Your Honor, if I may, I'll go and pick him up right now. He's just around the corner.
Fantastic. I'll be here with bells on. All right, court is standing brief recess. I need that file back.
Yeah.
That's about a long time.
Get out of here.
That's about that.
I will pull you in.
Well.
Oh.
You may be seated. Court does call case of the People versus Jeffrey Sanders.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Marie Tanha, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney on behalf of the people.
And Laura Yagi, Assistant Public Defender, with and on behalf of Mr. Sanders, who is to my right.
Jeffrey Sanders. All right.
Your Honor, before we start, I also just received a text message sent from the victim to the officer in charge, Deputy Hall. It's a screenshot at this stage. Of course, we need to get more information. It's a screenshot from someone named Jeffrey saying, you okay? If you want me in jail, just say so.
The judge lays it out clearly. Sanders is officially labeled a flight risk. That single phrase changes everything. Once a judge marks you as a flight risk, your chances of release on bond drop to zero. Think about it. Just hours earlier, this man had a shot at freedom. Now, he's handcuffed, humiliated, and facing additional charges, all because he ran. What do you think? Did he panic, or was it guilt catching up to him? Drop your thoughts below.
She says, I don't want you to. That was read by him at 11:42 a.m. Then he says 9 out of 10 times I am. Then he says he back. Then he says, can you talk? Then he says, I'm gonna run. This seems to coincide with what the victim was telling us towards the end of our conversation.
All right. So I don't know where you want to start this, Jackie.
I frankly, I don't either. I think what I would request today is that this be set, reset for exam and set for bond violation hearing, because at this point today, I don't feel prepared to go forward on the bond violation aspect. To be candid with the court, I just need more time to talk to Mr. Sanders about these allegations that I just learned about a few hours ago, and I need to go through them in more depth and more detail with Mr. Sanders.
Okay, but just so that we're clear, as we were going through the conversation this morning regarding certain reports and certain other things and certain allegations by the alleged victim in this case, in a lot of ways is referencing his status.
Listen closely here. This isn't just about bond violations anymore. The prosecutor is visibly angry, warning the court that Sanders poses a real, immediate threat to the victim and her children. She even says deputies had to tell the victim to take your kids and run. That's chilling. This moment reveals why the justice system takes domestic cases so seriously, because one bad call can mean tragedy. You can hear the tension thick in the air.
That is right now, aren't those irrelevant to the court? I mean, because, well, I won't say absolutely irrelevant, but for the purposes of today, certainly they're no longer relevant. I mean, even if, which was the court's attempt to try to determine as to whether or not he might pose some threat to the victim in this case, I don't even know that I need to go through that part of the analysis, because clearly he's demonstrated that he's a flight risk. And so he's not going anywhere today. I mean, I hope he enjoyed his little last half hour of freedom. And so, I mean, there's that issue. And also, we were getting indications, and they will get them, that he was texting the victim, and he's got a no contact.
I understand.
I mean, I'll set it for a hearing, but I don't know.
I think one of my questions, well, the first question would be, obviously, is there a bond violation? The next question is what is the appropriate sentence for that bond violation? One of the things that I do think is especially relevant is, I do think it would be relevant for the court's consideration in terms of a sentence for a bond violation, the context of the conversations. And I don't have that at this time. And I think it would be important for me to be able to prepare and for the court to have, because
And here comes the hammer. The judge absolutely unloads on Sanders, calling out his lies, his escape attempt, and his total disregard for the law. She paints a picture of chaos, alarms blaring, deputies scrambling, and one man running straight into deeper trouble. You can feel her fury when she says, "You changed that. This is all you." Judges rarely speak this bluntly unless they've seen enough. This is courtroom accountability in real time.
I mean, I don't want to necessarily go further today, but I think it does make a difference if there is contact with someone, versus if someone is calling, texting, and saying, will you respond? And then there's a response. I just think it matters in terms of sentence, even if it doesn't matter in terms of whether or not there's a violation, because one of the things that the state's witness said this morning was that she had been reaching out and asking for a response.
Your Honor, first of all, I'm sorry, may I?
Yes.
First of all, I don't appreciate that my conversation that I had with a victim in this case was overheard, listened to, whatever it may be. The part that's now being put on the record is also a great deal about why that victim did not show up today. And as we witnessed, quite frankly, she probably had good reason not to show today, because I don't know what defendant would have done. And I had to call this victim. I had to have deputies go out and have our victim advocate contact her and essentially tell her, take your kids and run, get out of the house, because that's very likely where he was going after finding out that she was going to appear on Zoom. I mean, she was willing to appear on Zoom and testify today, despite all her hesitations, and he decides to run, and he's messaging. I cannot imagine a context where that is okay or acceptable or excusable in any way. We're here.
And that's it. Judge revokes Sanders' bond and remands him immediately. No more freedom, no more excuses. This case is a textbook example of how quickly courtroom behavior can turn your situation from bad to catastrophic. One rash decision cost this man everything: credibility, trust, and his bond. What do you think? Did the judge make the right call? Or did emotions run too high in this hearing? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns like this one.
For a court hearing, and he is messaging her as we're talking to her. So I want to be very clear. I don't think it's appropriate to further put any statements the victim made on the record in front of this defendant, because quite frankly, we're just increasing her risk here. This is high lethality, 100%. And we are not going to contribute to making the risk for her even greater than it is by talking about statements she made in confidence speaking to me. We're just not going to do that. So I would ask Ms. Yagi to stop right there if she's going to get into further anything that has to do with what the statements the victim made.
I understand. I will request that it be set for bond violation hearing. I don't feel prepared today to address it. I think there are statements that are discoverable, and so I'll follow up with the prosecutor about that.
Can efforts be made to have the victim available next week?
We'll do our best, Your Honor.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, adjourn the preliminary examination. I'm going to keep the case. It would go back to Judge Washington on the 28th, but we'll get it heard sooner if I keep it. So I'll set the preliminary examination for October 21st, 2025, 9 a.m. That will be